All right, here we are sitting down with Mike Nicastro. He's lucky, or we're lucky enough, I guess, to be able to get him on Zoom and talk to him a little better than a phone call. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm lucky too. What do you mean? I get to hang out with you guys.
It's great to have you on. Mike Nicastro, Yins Are Crazy podcast. He's been on before, also yinsarecrazy.com. Go check it out. They had awesome stuff. I know you guys covered the NFL draft a lot. You had a lot of stuff on the mock draft for Pittsburgh and just a lot of NFL teams in general. So you're very well versed in your football knowledge and in even baseball. So we're going to get into all of it today. Let's go.
Mike, so personally, I'm kind of indifferent about the Pickett selection. Like, I think at face value, right, they upgraded the most important position. That's important. But I'm not sure he's special, right? I think my personal choice, I would have probably retooled for maybe next year, right? I'm not saying tank. See what Mitch can do. Maybe win 6, 7 games. We'll be in a position to draft. I know that Tyler Van Dyke has been slotted somewhere around where we would have been, 10, 12 area. But I don't mind the selection. What are your thoughts on Kenny Pickett first, and then secondly, the rest of the draft as well?
Yeah, I hear you, Tim. I get the point. I was shocked, I think, along with the rest of Steelers Nation, that they passed on Malik Willis. Maybe it's easy to sit here in hindsight and say you're less shocked because he went in the third round. But the upside factor you thought was really going to come into play more than it does with Pickett naturally, right? Now, who knows? There's nobody for sure that is like, yeah, we know his ceiling is capped. Like that, you can't speak in definites when you talk about that. However, it feels that way because he's, going to be 24. He spent 5 years at Pitt, right? So the guy feels like he's about as good as he's going to be, just without NFL schemes, tutelage, coaching. Always there's room to improve. Of course, he's going to improve. It's not like he's 36, right?
Right.
But at the same time, the comparisons for Pickett were like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins at his ceiling, at his height. Those are good quarterbacks, right? There's nothing wrong with those guys. At the end of the day, if you build a really good team around them, you can win. I think the Steelers maybe were swayed a tiny bit by the fact that he was in the building. They played and trained again outside facility, or not against him, but with him for 5 years.
Right.
Probably had a little bit to do with it. And I think part of their mentality also is like, let's throw darts at the wall. Like, let's throw as many as we can and hope we hit a bullseye. Sign Mitch, bring in Kenny. Obviously, an awful, unfortunate, tragic passing of Dwayne Haskins, but he would have been in the mix. Even drafting Chris Oladokun shows that they're just throwing darts and hoping one hits. And if one hits, that's awesome, right? I've always said, like, if Trubisky is very, very good, if he comes out and shows Pro Bowl form like he did for a season previously with the Bears, that's a great problem to have, right?
Right.
If he's not very good, you turn it over to Kenny. And a lot of fans are like, thank goodness we drafted Pickett. So, yeah, I mean, I get the pick from the perspective that obviously you need a good quarterback to win in the NFL. He has some Joe Burrow comps, maybe to a smaller degree.
A little bit.
So.
The experience, the mobility, I think those are two things that in the leadership, there's another one I think that you really want to throw in there. That's the peak, man. That's the ceiling, of course. Like if he turns out to be Joe Burrow, yeah, you don't second guess. That's going to be a guy who's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be weird if he turns out to be Mitch Trubisky. I don't know what the heck you do if those two kind of have the exact flight plane for 2 years. It'll be interesting to find out. As for the rest of their class, I love it. Really do. Great value with George Pickens in the second round. People all like to throw out there all the time, this guy would have been the first player taken if he stayed healthy, blah, blah, blah. People say Justin Ross, if he didn't have his back problems from Clemson, first, second round. This is true with George Pickens. Like, this dude would have been a top 10 slam dunk pick. Crazy, like, catch radius, ball skills. He's tall, he's fast. He could just be a bit of an ass sometimes. That's a little bit of the knock on him. But I'm shocked they got him where they got him. And to pass on Sky Moore shows you a lot about how they felt about Pickens. DeMarvin Leal, that's the one pick I got right in my mock draft.
There you go.
Which is actually two. I got Connor Hayward, which is a lot more than a lot of people could say. I like him a lot. I knew the Steelers liked him because they watched so damn much of him. They drafted Dan Moore and Buddy Johnson, and when they're watching those tape from 2021, they're seeing DeMarvin Leal all over the field for
Yeah.
A&M. A little bit. So Calvin Austin, great value guy to replace Ray McLeod. And then obviously some pieces in there as well, like Oladoku, who knows, could add a speed element, be a lot of fun there. So we'll see. I'm not one to hand out grades because who knows. But if you force me, if you put a gun to my head, I'd give it a solid B+.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we gave it. So, and that kind of makes sense. So you mentioned like the whole Mitch thing. Oh, Kenny's 24, right? And I think that he should start day one. I think bare minimum by week 4, right? I think he should be starting. Because if not, we're going to miss out on next year's draft class. Like if we don't see what we have this year with Kenny Pickett, I think next year's draft class is too loaded to miss out on. Kind of like a Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray scenario, right? Start him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we got. I'm not afraid to move off him after only a year. What are your thoughts moving forward? Do you start him day one? Do you wait? Is it just a true quarterback battle? Who wins it in practice? Well, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's interesting. I've waffled on this, to be honest. Right when Kenny was drafted, I was on your team. I was on Team Tim, and I said, you don't take a 24-year-old quarterback and keep him on the bench. If that's the case, you don't take that guy. You take a younger guy, Ritter, Willis, Sam Howell at 21. Now, once again, in hindsight, when all these guys drop to the 4th round, it doesn't sound as sexy. However, as I mentioned before, I've kind of shifted perspective, and I would start Mitch with a short leash naturally. And a short leash can do a lot of good things for Mitch because it tells him that he needs to be productive, as good as he can be these first handful of games. The reason I would start with Mitch is because I feel like you can easily transition from Mitch to Kenny. But once Kenny's in there, you can't go to Mitch.
That's fair.
You just can't do it.
Right.
I think even if Kenny really, really struggles, you get in his head, right? It's like pulling a pitcher with a no-hitter. I don't know.
Right.
Next time he steps on the mound, he's going to be a little I should say it's like a pitcher with having a line drive hit over his head. The next time he goes out there, he's going to be seeing things and
right.
have ghosts like Sam Darnold, right? Like he's going to lose confidence.
Right.
So you can make that transition a lot easier than you can do the opposite. And once again, if Mitch is really good, cool. Stick with him, win football games, good supporting cast around him. If he sucks, whatever. You drafted Kenny Pickett for a reason,
right.
And then you're right. You'll get to find out if you had two guys, two darts, and they both missed the board next year and have more darts to draft a guy like Van Dyke or a guy like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. You mentioned this class is nasty. For what it's worth, I don't see the Steelers finishing like worse than 5-12 anyway, so I don't know that they'll have a shot at those guys.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. So real quick, we got about 5 minutes, or actually more like 3. The Broncos just got bought for $4.5 million. I think you could attribute $800 million to Russell Wilson. Do you think that's crazy? Like take Philly, who I think is pretty comparable, weapons, secondary, D-line, young coach, relatively similar size cities. Philly's maybe a little bit bigger. I think 4.5. I don't think they'd get that with Hurts. What are your thoughts on kind of franchise and how quarterback dependent they are, and even like the Broncos specifically?
I thought you guys bought the Broncos, right?
I wish, huh? That'd be nice.
No wonder you're asking the question. No, I get it. It's a little more strange when you have the quarterback who's aging. It would make more sense for, a team like the Bengals to go at that value because it's Joe Burrow or, you gave an example of Jalen Hurts, right? I don't know about the stability ultimately there.
Right.
In terms of value being at the highest, it's always at the highest when you have a really damn good quarterback. The examples from the last few years prove it to the nth degree. Right. Matt Stafford goes to the Rams. They win his freaking Super Bowl, right? Brady takes over for Jameis. Their value has never been higher. Ticket prices, you could have walked into that stadium for $11 probably with Jameis, and now you can't walk in for less than $150.
Right.
It's just a quarterback-driven league. Quarterbacks bring revenue. Here you go. When's Russell Wilson's first game going to be? Monday night.
Yep. Monday night, week 1, right?
Just like that.
Yep.
Monday night, prime time. I think it's against Seattle, his old team.
It is, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, which is going to be awesome. Just like that. Are they getting that with Drew Lock?
No, no shot.
When's the last time, they get a primetime game with Trevor Siemian, back in the day? No. So a quarterback changes everything. The valuation, I get it. They win the Super Bowl. Awesome. There's a lot of pressure on them in the Super Bowl. Just like the Rams had and the Bucs had. If they don't and have to look for another rookie quarterback, yeah, maybe a mistake.
Right. I totally agree. So, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure running along time. I really, really appreciate you stopping by, especially on Zoom. It's an absolute pleasure.
You got it, boys. Yinzercrazy.com.
Yes, sir.
Check us out, download the YC podcast, subscribe, like it, hit us up. It's the issue.
There you go. Hey, we appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.